face the Chicago Cubs. Saturday at 1:30 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
And here we go.
What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
Richardson gonna take off and run. He's in there! Touchdown! I-N-D-Y! Outside give to Taylor. Stretching it out. He's at the 5, and he walks in untouched. Jonathan Taylor. Turner wants to do more damage, and he does.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Happy you're here. Thank you for joining us. I know it is hot. It is humid. There's no question about that. Hey, do a couple of things. If you need me for anything as far as your cooling unit is concerned, you know I can help you. And so can my friends John and Chris Love. I love Heating and Air. Just a thought. I do go out to my outdoor unit, and don't giggle. I do go out to my outdoor unit, and I get my substantial hose out, and I wash off the side with all of the cottonwood and crap that's been floating around, just so you know. But if you need any help, I got your back, as always, right here. Right here anytime you need it. You know, you look at the Indiana Fever, and I think that so much of this has been so blown out of proportion at the beginning. And I think it's so much easier to understand that now. For example, you watch the last 3 games. And I'm not suggesting, well, the last 3 means that they're extremely good. No, the last 3 means that the competition hasn't been as high, hasn't been as quality. And this is where that team is. This is where Caitlin Clark and the Fever would be right now. So much of the expectations got completely blown out of proportion. And then all of a sudden you see people that are chiming in, and I've told you before, that's like the first time I have ever paid attention. There's no way I was paying attention last year. There was no way my mom was calling up last night and saying, where the hell can I find this game? None. Until this year. So I have stated to you, the one thing that I do know is I know basketball. I love basketball and enjoy it. But as far as this is concerned, I had to go and get some help about, all right, who's been good, who's good. And you see the names. But when this whole thing started, it was, all about, all right, Caitlin Clark's going to come in and she's going to own the league. To be stepping back from 30, averaging 30, doing things that we simply have never seen before. And then with that in mind, this team is going to be playing at an incredibly high level, challenging for the postseason. Maybe they still will, but certainly, to play well in the postseason. This has been a team that, because we haven't been paying attention, and the only way you can really understand it if you haven't been is why they have had ownership of the number 1 selection the past 2 years, is this team, this organization's been awful. Been awful. But then at the flip of a switch, all of a sudden this was going to change. And I think what you gather out of the last 3 games is this is more like it. Had their schedule been mixed more with some of these teams to where they have a winning probability, a winning possibility, and not so much of Connecticut and New York and Seattle, not so much, or Vegas, even though I think Vegas is even on the season or close to it. This is more like what it was supposed to be, if you pay attention. Like Tony East is going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Tony East has been paying attention now for a long time, so I truly enjoy leaning on him for a great deal of information that I'm just not privy to. because I have not been paying attention, much like you, and certainly much like everybody nationally that chimes in on why isn't she doing this? And in turn, why are they not doing that? And then you twist this all up into, what is newsworthy and political, and you've got an absolute mess. Since they had close to about 5 days off and had time to chill and had time to practice a little bit, and then played teams in which they certainly would be more competitive against, this all now has started to make a little bit more sense to you, hasn't it? It's funny how basketball can do that. There's no doubt you always want to play the best. You want to compete against the best because you want to be the best. But not everybody is ready for that level. And this team, this organization, these players, this coach, they were not ready for it. And believe me, nobody out there, and rightly so, was ready for the onslaught of attention that this group and this player got. The endless amount of rapid fire every day, most of it incredibly stupid attention. So the last 3 games, for example, it's all started to make a little bit more sense now, hasn't it? It's all started to, oh, yeah, okay. So they weren't very good. And, you don't have the ultimate savior for a team like this. Not ready for a lot of things. And believe me, this is like league wide. I don't think anybody's ready for it. All of a sudden you have other teams and other players, other coaches, they are, meeting with more media people. They are under more scrutiny, under more of a microscope, being asked these questions, and you may not be ready for prime time because, again, a year ago, really nobody cared. And they may have to a higher degree in other markets. But still, you have that trickle-down theory to where everybody else kind of has to all of a sudden be put in a similar position as the Fever, this team, and Caitlin Clark around here. So it is all kind of evening out and becoming more easily understood, is it not? And I know the Washington Mystics aren't anything of the best, but neither are the Fever. So what you try to do is continue to get better, and now you can see when they play against teams, organizations that are more closely constructed, even without, the ultimate piece of hype in Caitlin Clark, even without that, personnel-wise, or more equal to, this all, again, now makes sense to you, doesn't it? Fever get a win last night. Tony East will talk about that. Tony East is going to talk about what is the upcoming offseason for the Pacers. What will that look like? After Pascal Siakam, it was reported yesterday that he's going to sign that max extension, 4 years, hell of a lot of money. And we knew that was going to happen once they made the trade. The other team that was kind of interested in Siakam, if you remember at the time, that was the Sacramento Kings. And I guess there's not a connection here other than it being the same team or teams, I should say, in this case, that authored the deal that Sacramento got Sabonis and the Pacers with their path, and now the Pacers on their path have Halliburton. And I think we can all understand that works out better. There are a lot of dudes out here, and there's some dorky dudes, but dudes in particular. And believe me, I've fought this fight for the past couple of years since that trade. I loved Domas Sabonis. Loved him. And I feel as if, and actually I know, because my kid growing up always wanted to watch Gonzaga, and I watched almost every Gonzaga game. From the time where he was young enough to understand up until he got into high school, and certainly that covered up the Sabonis years. So I saw Sabonis a great deal. Loved watching his dad play, even with an older / abbreviated NBA career. As a 7'4" big man that could pass and do a lot of things, every time you watched him play for the Blazers, for example, in the early 2000s, when they had a great team with Rick Adelman, I believe, at the time, but he was a part of that team. And you always wondered what it would have been like had he been in the NBA during his prime, which he was not. It was more toward the tail end, but he was still really good. And so is his son, Domas Sabonis. So I loved Sabonis when he was here, but you all kind of understood that, after a year certainly of watching how Sabonis and Turner did not mesh together on the floor at the same time, something had to be done. And let's just say this, even with the way Sacramento at the end of the year tailed off, even with the way things have yet to really work out as they wanted to, they certainly are better. They're a better organization, but you probably would not go to an end result of this past regular season with Sacramento, and you probably wouldn't shout that because there were some disappointing aspects. There were injuries, other situations. Now you got questions regarding the personnel that they have. You got to make changes, and certainly they do. But it was all understood that this was going to be beneficial for both. And let's face it, it has. I think now, with this past season, and especially making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, you can view that deal as more beneficial for the Pacers because of where they have been or what they have done for us lately. Again, that's going to the Eastern Conference Finals and even being swept. But something had to be done, and rarely in the NBA do you find a trade that seems to be as mutually beneficial for each team as any that we have seen in a long time. But it's kind of interesting that in terms of Siakam toward the trade deadline, one of the other teams that had a high level of interest was that of the Sacramento Kings. I saw Sam Amick had a piece written about it, suggesting that Siakam didn't want to be dealt to Sacramento, and who knows how much of this is the truth and hearsay, but it is his latest piece regarding Siakam. In the next 4 years, for example, here, the amount of money he's going to get on an extension, and we've always been told by him how much he likes it here. But there is a different story being told on why, for example, a team like Sacramento that clearly wanted him at the time didn't end up getting him, because that was not a place he wanted to go, because he didn't like some of the things that would have been said about him prior. Reportedly, according to Sam Amick, coming out of the Kings organization. So the moral of this story is, to me, it is always very funny about how things find their way and have their way of working out. And not one person out there initially. Remember how we had to explain Tyrese Halliburton because everybody was so damn bent out of shape regarding Sabonis being traded. And how now he is the face, the centerpiece of this team. And how everybody initially thought Sacramento got over on the Pacers because obviously Sabonis and the Kings took off. Everybody always wondered, well, why didn't you trade Turner instead of Sabonis? That's because they wanted Sabonis to be kind of a 0.5, if you will. I mean, hell, he runs stuff on the perimeter. You think he would do that here? Absolutely stinking not. And no doubt he goes after the glass incredibly well, but there's also doubt if you're ever going to do any high ball screen picking and popping that he is not your guy. He's tried to be your guy, and at times he can knock it down. It's not like he's Jared Allen out there. At times he can knock it down, but that's not something consistently that anybody out there would give two craps about defensively speaking that is believable, the high ball screen pick and pop with Sabonis. Just not there. You have to have somebody that is just beyond capable or able, but is a legitimate threat. And you can say what you want about 33. He is absolutely that. He has proven that. Because believe me, if he wasn't to this point, we'd sure as hell be, I'd be hearing about it. But back to Siakam for a moment. It is interesting to see how, again, the inner workings and the tapestry, if you will, of both of these teams have been put together and how it kind of continues moving forward here with Siakam. Reportedly not wanting any part of Sacramento because what was said about him in the past. And we all knew We all knew once you end up getting him here how well we thought ultimately he would fit in. And then you think even more how well he's going to fit in when you have a truly, and let's get right down to it, a truly healthy Tyrese Halliburton. And even with the workload of this season, the workload coming up this summer, being a part of the Olympic team in Paris, hopefully he is able to become healthy, to be healthy. Because believe me, it shook the NBA. I don't think I'm overstating this at all. How he looked to start the season, along with this Pacer team and that wow offense. And I know we spent a lot of time around here. We spent a lot of time also breaking down the wow defense, which was not good. Because really, they had to track down $135 every game because they were giving up 130 every game. But man, it was great to watch it. And that is when he was at his healthiest, going into example that first ever in-season tournament. That was some glorious individual basketball being played right there. The threat off the pass, the threat with the ball, the threat to score, all of it. That was also a much healthier at the time Tyrese Halliburton. So hopefully you can see more than that, regardless of what is going to take place coming up in this offseason, with really a lack of, how should I put this? A lack of rest time. A lack of a leisure in which he is going to get. I don't know, selfishly, I guess I could look at it this way. You kind of hope, but you really don't. You want to see him get out there and be a huge part of it. And he probably will, because he's a guy that does like to pass, and guys that like to shoot love playing with guys that like to pass, even with the guy that can pass. Makes sense. So I know selfishly you'd like to see him maybe not get as much run in the Olympics as maybe he will end up getting, because he's the type of player that you would think would fit in great with a team full of shooters and scorers. By the way, the Lakers hired J.J. Redick. That according to Adrian Wojnarowski, and that is now out there. J.J. Redick, with no coaching experience whatsoever. He did a hell of a podcast with LeBron James, and then, and maybe it doesn't matter to him, but sometimes it ultimately does, especially at that level, dealing with the ego, is being the significant second choice. I guess it doesn't matter. If you prove yourself and things go well, then maybe it doesn't matter. But I think the one thing we have learned, especially over the LeBron era in L.A., is that harmony there is fleeting. It really is. There's not a lot of it. And really the only way you're doing it is if you're performing and winning in a somewhat dominant fashion. Otherwise, people are still going to poke holes in your proverbial boat. J.J. Redick, fresh from the podcast, and now the head coach of the Lakers. Man, I mentioned this. I did, and this was kind of just me jacking around a little bit, so forgive me if I bring it back up, because I'm sure it probably has zero bearing. But sometimes the way that you hear guys call games, or, for example here, talk on a podcast, clearly that is what endeared him to LeBron James, right? Well, the private information that they were sharing, and then being a part of the podcast, and LeBron James liking what he was hearing, and who knows what the hell was being said. Probably you can still be the best guy on the team, and we'll get your son and all of that. I'm sure it's more than that. But sometimes you can look for a little bit of a poker tell, can you not? With what is being said. And we heard a lot from J.J. Redick this postseason. And I mentioned this a couple of different times. This first started in jest, and then I thought about it more and more, and I thought, I kind of wonder, in trying to put together pieces for his first coaching experience with the Lakers, I mean, immediately just being dumped right into the fire. Right into it. Seriously, like when that whole term, that saying, out of the frying pan into the fire, this is like out of the frying pan and dumped into Venus is what it is right here. And I had mentioned this. There was not a time that he did a Pacer playoff game when he was not profoundly, certainly if not elegantly, but profoundly discussing how much he loved what Miles and what McConnell did. You guys with me on that? It was constant, and I know that he did a lot of Pacer games, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals, but it was kind of constant, wasn't it? Every time he saw these guys, it was almost more about those two than it was anything else. So that always makes me wonder if, what you saw in your trip around the postseason of the NBA, and then now all of a sudden you're jumping into your first opportunity as an NBA head coach, and you've got that experience that you can't necessarily lean on other than a podcast and being a longtime player. It always made me wonder if that interest in doing the TV broadcast, if he were to become head coach here, for example, if something like that would come to light. This kind of made me wonder. Makes me wonder even more so right now. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, J.J. Redick is the new head coach of the L.A. Lakers. Tony East will join us. We'll talk about Pascal Siakam, talk about the fever. And again, it all is making more sense to everybody now. It should. Even the group that wants to turn this into some type of cultural war situation, whatever. If you've ever just kind of watched a little bit, by the way, of basketball, you can kind of understand now the level in which this team is a part of and just how the schedule has been beneficial here recently. And that's more like it. That's more understandable. That and the remainder of the postseason regarding the Pacers, and don't get me wrong, like people were – it's funny. I saw that Bleacher Report trade idea regarding Mikal Bridges and the Nets and the Pacers yesterday, and all I put was like 3 words. This is stupid. That is an incredibly deep dive breakdown of that possibility or that rumor. This is stupid is what I put. And it is stupid because you don't give away that much. I like Mikal Bridges. I don't necessarily think he's like the one and only guy that can get you to the next level. He does some things, certainly, that would be necessary for the Pacers. But that's way too, if even close to actuality, way too hefty of a price tag. And I may end up being completely wrong about this. I cannot be the only one that wants to see more out of Mathurin and Nembhard, and this is nothing against Jarris Walker. I guess what I'm saying here, if something involved Walker and it didn't involve like Mathurin and didn't involve Nembhard, then I might be on board. But I also will tell you, I wouldn't mind to see Walker play either, and I get sick and tired of people talking about how other bodies are in his way. Why are other bodies in his way? Or I had a back and forth yesterday about, my thought, my point that I want to see him earn the clock. Well, that's ridiculous. He should be out there anyway. He's a lottery pick. Well, says who? Says who? He's not good enough to be out there if he's beaten out by somebody else. Why would you put him out there? To me, that's every bit of a bad coaching maneuver as what somebody would suggest not putting him out there in the first place. Playing him when you believe that he's not ready. Because, listen, coaches have their way, and they can drive you nuts, and they're all different for the most part. But there's not one out there that's not going to play a guy that they know that can give them something. And believe me, all these coaches are going to figure out a way. I mean, think about the stupidity, the Nate Bjorkgren era, and the stupidity of trying to play Miles and Sabonis on the floor at the same time. They even tried that here for a number of years. and talk everybody into it for a moment. If it works, they'll do it. If it works, they'll find a way. If it doesn't, or if it hasn't been proven yet, that's where all this occurs. Talk to Tony about that coming up at the top of the hour. Seems like it's weird that everybody wants to see Nembhard go. Well, you know what? He's a much better point guard, and he's not going to get that here. We're in an era now where you're just kind of known as a basketball player. He looks really good at that. Matherin just can't be what Mikal Bridges is right now. He didn't play this past year. You don't know what he really can and cannot be yet. I'm willing to bank more on that than I am going out and spending on all these ridiculous resources for one dude, which isn't going to happen. Tony East about that top of the hour. Mike Chappell is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. It is extremely warm in this box right now. I feel like I'm Cool Hand Luke. I'm Paul Newman, and they just put me in the box because I ate a bunch of eggs on a dare. Or I tried to escape 900 times, or I watched a tremendously rack-heavy chick wash her car. Cool Hand Luke. A great film. James is shaking his head. One of the greatest films of all time. James has no idea what we're talking about.
Not a clue.
Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke. That's not my generation either, but damn, James. We've got to get you into the melting pot of society here to understand some things.
I've never even heard of this.
Never heard of Paul Newman?
I think I've heard the name Paul Newman, but I don't know what film you're talking about.
This is not, you guys can attest to this. This is not about a generation gap. My man James has lived in Walnut Grove, like Little House on the Prairie or Sleepy Eye growing up. Did you live in Sleepy Eye? Sleepy Eye was the bigger town in Little House on the Prairie.
I pretty much lived in the middle of nowhere growing up.
Grew up in Walnut Grove.
We had an antenna and 4 channels.
All right. And you never didn't really hear of Paul Newman, and you don't know anything about Cool Hand Luke. Well, son of a gun. Hey, we did lose an incredible actor today. Donald Sutherland has passed away. Donald Sutherland, you probably go back and you go, oh, yeah, man, Donald Sutherland was in that. In a number of terrific films. A great actor. I think people brought up Kelly's Heroes. That is one. I brought up a couple of different quotes. He was the pot-smoking professor in Animal House. And also, the younger generation would know him probably much more as the father of Kiefer Sutherland. Donald Sutherland has passed away. The longtime, just incredible actor. And if you've ever heard of the sitcom, the military sitcom known as MASH, you know MASH?
I do know MASH.
All right, MASH started as a film in 1970. And Donald Sutherland was in the film. Instead of Alan Alda and Wayne Rogers being a part of MASH when it first started, the television version, you had Donald Sutherland and Elliot Gould, two renowned actors at the time, certainly, that played those roles when it was a cinematic version to start. Donald Sutherland. He is one of the great ones, no doubt about that. Yeah, we got to get James to watch Cool Hand Luke. The egg eating, the car washing, the attempted escapes, the warden, all that's good stuff. J.J. Redick is the new head coach of the Lakers. Fever, they win last night. Pacers offseason. Tony East is going to have the blanket coverage for you coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Mike Chappell is going to be here in the 5 o'clock hour as well. 239-1070. If you guys want to jump on board, you can. Inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. A shout-out to everybody that has been in attendance with us on some of these party deck tour stops we have given away through AAA. Our friends Matt and Matt we've given away tickets to see Kenny Chesney. Kenny Chesney is tonight at Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center. So for all of you that have won tickets, go out and enjoy that tonight. A little bit warm, a little bit steamy, but you guys all dig on Chesney. And you probably won tickets if you did from this station and from AAA membership. So enjoy that tonight. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, the stream, the app, that is HD Radio. We're going to come back right after this. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A slow network is no network.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James is over there, doesn't know anything. I'm John. I don't know too much more, to be honest with you. See, you're going to get tested now. James, do you know anything about Hogan's Heroes?
I have heard of Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes!
Now, it doesn't have anything to do with Hulk Hogan, does it?
It does not. Bob Crane was there. Bob Crane had an incredible double life. There's a film of around 2002, maybe, called Autofocus.
I've never heard of that.
Greg Kinnear plays the role of Bob Crane. You've heard of Greg Kinnear.
I do know who Greg Kinnear is.
You have to see that. There is a great deal of nudity in that, too.
Oh, really?
Really strong nudity, yeah. But Kinnear and Willem Dafoe are in it, and that kind of gets a little bit weird there. But Autofocus is about the double life of Bob Crane, who I believe was murdered, killed back in, 1978, I believe it was. Hogan's Hero. So, yeah, Michael, he has heard of that. Thank you. Tell him, JMV, the national hacks always act as if Buchanan and Pritchard are incompetent. Far from it. And I'll tell you what, North, especially if Chad Buchanan, like we're so tight right now, I'll just drop him a couple of nuggets of, well, this is what JMV thinks, and you're down the magical highway of elite-level basketball greatness right there. Yes. I'll just drop in a nugget or two. Yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah. I don't know about this trading McConnell stuff. Yeah. You know, if a guy's not ready, a guy's not ready. Obi fits in very well here. So remember that. Where's Obi going to start? Somebody's got starters, money, and minutes for him. Yeah, offer sheet. What about this offer sheet? So, North, I got your back. Absolutely, positively. JMV, no one talks about how Siakam did not even have training camp with the Pacers, so it will be a new, fresh start. No, I dig it, seriously. Yeah, JJ Redick is the new head coach, 4-year deal with the LA Lakers. And you knew that was coming. I guess it's okay at that level to be a significant second choice. I mean, a second choice to Dan Hurley. There have been a lot of them out there this offseason, evidently. Mark Pope's one of them. A lot of second choices. We'll see where that goes. And thank you for the autofocus reference right there. I believe if you could check back, there was a grotto scene with, back in the, help me out here, the middle 2000s, there was a Miller Lite pinup, if you will, girl, who was in that, James. Autofocus. Yeah, it is not that, but Cool Hand Luke, one of the best movies ever right there. Yeah, that's great. All right, 239-1070. Got news for you tomorrow, back 9. Cannot wait to see you out there. It's going to be a blast. Back deck party we're going to have with Deep Eddy Vodka, so you got to be there. And then we'll set the stage coming up in July for what is going to be the fan golf outing once again at back 9. That's at 1075thefan.com. You can go ahead and log on and get your tickets right now. I was right about Chesney. That is tonight, correct? Go out there and enjoy Chesney, especially if you won tickets from this show. I love that. Tell me how it goes. Tony East, top of the hour, 239-1070 right now. Keith can lead us off today. Hello, Keith. How are you?
I'm doing good on the passing of Donald Sutherland. Remember, he had a cameo JFK. And,
yes. He was in, was it Invasion of the Body Snatchers he was in too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I'm watching, I got from the Downtown Library, I got the entire series of Dukes of Hazzard. I was watching season 4 until I tuned into you. So, yeah, and the incident on Bob Queen, I know all about him. Last night's episode had Carter play Adolf Hitler. He was funny as hell.
I watched because much like James mentioned, when I grew up, or if you're my age too or near my age, we all kind of grew up with the lack of channels around here. And Hogan's Heroes, that would have been in our wheelhouse of syndication on Channel 4. So we all ended up seeing, I think it went maybe 5 or 6 seasons, and we all ended up, we just didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. We found that out later.
Really?
Yeah.
He was killed in April '78. I got the entire DVD series on Hogan's Heroes, but I still watch on TV. I want to get to a question regarding the Pacers.
Yep.
Congratulations to Siakam staying here, but they need to sign OB and JT. The one Pacer is going to decline his option, and I think it's a mistake to let him go, and that's Jalen Smith, because I think Jalen Smith is better than Isaiah Jackson. Way far.
Yeah, I think Jalen Smith is going to go ahead and bail out of town on his own accord. I'll give him credit. He certainly built a rep for himself to go someplace else and get more clock than what he is going to get here. I will say this. I do kind of wonder about and I guess what I'm saying here, Keith, Isaiah Jackson does need to expand his game. Right now, it's still okay to come off the bench and be a rim runner, block some shots, things of that nature, be an athletic beast. But he doesn't really have anything other than that right now. So I would suggest a more defined element in his game to where you can count on him besides what we already know, and that would be my expectation of what he's working on. So.
Yeah, well, they better resign OB and JT because JT pulled us through there when Halliburton was out with that hamstring injury. But still, they need to sign him and OB and go ahead and let Walker play. You got to.
You can find minutes for these dudes. It wouldn't be that hard. I mean, I know I oversimplify things. I do realize that, but if you can play and they believe you can, you're going to get the minutes to go out there and play, and they'll find a way to put their best on the floor whenever that happens. So I'm not as worried about the blockage of bodies in front of him, whereas others might be. So.
Okay, well, on the Fever, it's nice to see Caitlin Clark and Elliot Boston starting to play together. We're going to win some games now. Better watch out for us in the playoff and come playoff time.
Well, double, Keith. Thank you for the call last night for Caitlin Clark. The Olympic swimming trials at Lucas Oil Stadium, that has been the absolute bomb, has it not? It's been awesome. Even if you don't pay too much attention to swimming, think about what this has had over the course of almost a week now. It has had a world record, if not more than I know of one. It has significant local flavor. And it's got a lot of national run. And all the things that they have done, I think, as Indy normally does, it has hit all the right notes. If you're looking to try to make an event that is on the fringe, maybe, and I hate to put it this way, this is not a backhanded compliment, but on the fringe of, the public interest right now, and you're going to do it during a year to where, well, it'd be nice if you can because there's not a great deal of competition. However, you do have to compete because now you have the summertime and the time between the end of school and the start of school that is so shrunken that mostly you have to deal with people getting the hell up out of town right now, too. They have done a tremendous job in what they have put together with these swimming trials. And we knew that they would, but they have really covered everything. They have been ringing the bell nationally with that level of interest, and then without question locally. A world record 22,000 plus fans on Wednesday night for the Olympic trials. That is a hell of a good thing right there. And even if you don't pay too much attention, like I don't, to swimming, it is just another in a long line of feathers in the caps of those that do things, that have the vision and then put that vision to a blueprint and then execute that blueprint is amazing. We are so stinking lucky to be around here. You may think that there are some jackasses around here, and there are jackasses everywhere, but we are also lucky to be around here to be able to take in those events and to really be the absolute best at putting them on. We are around some incredibly bright people in terms of executing these big events. Awesome. So congratulations to everybody around here for that. And for a time, it can be touch and go whether or not you're going to get a level of interest. That interest certainly has been there. Well done. Tony East, top of the hour, Mike Chappell, 5 o'clock hour. Me and you also still to come. Roadshow coming up tomorrow as well. The AAA Membership Lounge. Hello, everybody. Inside the lounge via YouTube Live. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them with the skills?
with JMV.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Or in your Nissan sitting on Lorenzo's. Back in Philly, we be out in the park. A place called the Plateau is where everybody goes.
The first day of summer 2024 is upon us. All right, so this DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, this is a summertime anthem, and it has been basically from 1991. How many of you decided you no longer like this song like a lot of others did regarding all of Will Smith's movies because of the slap during the Oscars of Chris Rock? Like, it's still an anthem, right, for the summertime? There are more than a handful of summertime anthems. It's like Thriller around Halloween. It's always going to be played. Summertime is still the anthem, even if you no longer like Will Smith, I'm assuming here, right? Yeah, that's a true story. Hey, JMV, I completely agree with you regarding wanting to see a little bit more out of these guys. And a lot of these price tags we're hearing, which may not be the case whatsoever. And the Pacers, you're listening to me talk about how I want to see these guys grow and develop because I think what they're looking for just happens to be housed in their very own foundation right now. However, they may have taken my advice for a little bit more of an expedited program here to get where you want to go. Now, I've said chill. I've said hold on a minute. You're going to watch all these other teams around you, teams that you beat in the postseason. I don't know how much the Bucks are going to do, but certainly the Knicks are going to do some things. You know, Philly's going to do some things. Miami's got something with Pat Riley, you know, that they're going to motivate plan-wise into. And the Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell. We'll see how that goes. So it will be viewed as a loss in the offseason, right? If the Pacers don't go out there and do something significantly. Now, I would argue to anybody that would suggest that doing the max deal with Siakam is something significant. But I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And you still have time, even if things don't work for you. Like if it's not quite what you thought it was going to be, don't you have some time to rethink things, recalibrate, maybe take a fork in the road and go a different direction? You know, make a change at the trade deadline? I guess what I'm saying is I don't know why you have to make all these lofty decisions this summer. And again, you're going to hear a lot because all these other teams in the East are going to be doing that. And then Pacer fans, a lot of them are going to go, oh, here we go again. You're sitting on your hands. It just always is weird to me. Everybody wanted, the Pacers got to draft better. You got to be able to live on these draft selections. And then you have a couple that certainly we have seen blossom. You have a couple in that capacity, and now everybody's like hustling up to trade them. Yeah, that to me is just a little bit weird. JMV, people mentioning anything about trading Matherin is stupid. But this one takes the cake in stupidity, Rob, incredibly so. And again, if it's going to work out for Jarris Walker, it's going to work out for Jarris Walker. It's kind of how I view it. Just saw that Kurt Cignetti, head coach of the IU football program, send out an X message, build it, and they will come. In the last 30 minutes. Yeah, R.I.P., you're exactly right. Donald Sutherland. JMV, what is the first film that you think of when you think about the great actor? I think of Animal House. the pot smoking. Do you have that stuff I sent you to? I'm going to play a couple of things a little bit later on. The pot smoking professor at Faber College. Now, that was a very minor role, but that's what I think about. And plus, he looked like John Holmes in that. He had a really bad mustache and the hair and all that. Yeah. Very bad suits. But it was a really good role. And again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, a lot of the younger generation certainly know Kiefer Sutherland more than his father, but he was a significant actor. JMV's rocking the green Ralph Lauren polo shirt, no collar, of course. You've got to be able to if you're watching via the AAA Membership Lounge YouTube Live, you're looking right now, I am Mr. V-neck. I have got to breathe. I've got to let the neck and the chest breathe. I know everybody, you look right and it's professional to go with the collared shirts, but I am a V-neck guy. Even with the Ralph Lauren. No, let her breathe. JMV. James is primed for molding into the person that you want him to be. Yeah, I don't know. It'd take too long. Sidebar, Sutherland, Kelly's heroes, absolutely. All right, Tony East on the other side. Speaking of molding and just what we should have been thinking in the first place. It's Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. We'll go over that. Siakam, Pacers offseason, and more. Hey, don't go anywhere. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Tony East will join us coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Query and Company.
ESPN.
too, and I think everybody is kind of cool with not role playing here, but just kind of being themselves as we view from the outside looking in their roles. Tony East is with us. So Cameron Brink, torn ACL. She was on the 3-on-3 Olympic team for Team USA. Now, I'm assuming Aaliyah Boston just can't be picked up and thrown into that group, but can Katie Samuelson, for example, from the Fever, can she be added to that? How are they going to handle that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of confusing parts of the Olympics specifically. Like, I think for a lot of the other 3-on-3 tournaments, they can just pick players. But in terms of playing the Olympics, you have to have, like, Team USA points and have participated in an event in the last certain amount of time to be even eligible to do it. Someone wrote about it this morning, and I need to really dive into it. It's not like Lexi Hall's played a lot of 3-on-3 for Team USA, but I don't think she's eligible for the Olympics. Aaliyah's played for Team USA in like their recent training camps ahead of the Olympics. I'm not sure she's eligible either. She might be. I'm not sure. I believe Katie Lou is. I think she got invited to.
Yeah, it says that she is eligible, but Aaliyah Boston is not.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I think Katie Lou got invited to be on that 3-on-3 team in 2021 and couldn't do it for I forget what reason.
COVID
or injury.
It was a COVID, yeah.
But, yeah, and so it'd be awesome if she could now and get that redemption arc because of the opening. And it sucks that Cameron Brink's hurt, right? She's been a delight to watch, but it'd be a great opportunity for her to do that. And I think she'd be one of the best fits is like one of the taller, for lack of a better term. She's not a post player, but she's taller players who are in the available pool. I'm trying to look it up as you're speaking, but yeah, I think she's got a shot at it.
Tony East of this, I want to switch gears, Tony, as you join us here to the Pacers. And what is the likelihood, with your thoughts, that doing this deal now with Pascal Siakam and obviously Jalen Smith moving on someplace else, everything else being minor, what are the odds you think the team that we're looking at right now, for the most part, is going to be the team that we see to start the season?
Pretty similar team to start the season. I mean, they just don't have a lot of ways to make a huge change. If they lose Obi Toppin, they could use the mid-level exception to get like a decent player in the door. But do they really want to do that to not play someone else? You know, they have a deep team already. They probably already have 12 guys who you could argue, if they keep Obi Toppin, are deserving of minutes next year. So it's kind of what I expected, just given what their situation was. Right? They had a team last year with over half players in their rotation on rookie scale contracts. They won 47 games. They made the conference finals. That's kind of a team that you run it back with, not because you're like dying to it, because it's a very natural option to figure out where the natural endpoint is of that team and then make moves from there. And so I thought that made a lot of sense. Anyway, I asked Chad Buchanan about it at his exit interview, and once they re-signed Siakam, they signaled, yes, that looked like the plan anyway, but the signals are there that is what they could be doing, especially if they keep Obi Toppin. They might have to dance around some financial stuff, and Jalen Smith's option's an interesting consideration for them. But I think that largely the same team with maybe a draft pick and like a very small level free agent coming in could be the differences from the end of last year to start.
I have stated and been outspoken that this team, I think they have all the parts, if they continue to grow and get better, that would be necessary to raise their level of game, with the exception of offensive rebounding. I don't think they have that. I don't think they're going to have that unless they go outside of the organization specifically to find it. I just think they have all the bits and pieces to make them better on both ends with what they have right now. Would you agree?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, you look at their team, like even right now, I look at their roster, I'm like, this doesn't look like a bottom 10 defensive roster. I mean, it doesn't look like a good defensive team, but the fact that they were 24th is a little alarming, but you'd expect them to get better, right? They have a lot of good, or at least smart individual defenders that you'd expect would be better with a season together and more time to grow as players. Maybe Jarris Walker starts to play and becomes the defender they hope. You know, they're already a decent defensive rebounding team. Not good enough. They want to be better there. They said that on the record, but decent. Like, they have a lot of the pieces to cover up a lot of their weaknesses now. And I'm of the record and have said many times, if Tyrese Halliburton is on their team, they're going to be a top 2 or 3 offense, no matter who the other guys are. So the pieces are there for them to get better and cover up some of those weaknesses, but it's not that easy, right? They have to hope it actually happens, and if it doesn't, they've got to figure out how to cash in their remaining trade chips to get the stuff externally that would make it happen, because they did only win 47 games last year. It did take them till the last day of the season to make the playoffs. Of course, everyone, and including me, thinks they'll be better next year, but there is a chance they need to still do some stuff to really shore up that they are, the team they hope to be next year in the following year.
Is there a reason why these Mikal Bridges rumors are rapid fire? Is he, in your opinion, the absolute perfect fit that would automatically put them near the top of the Eastern Conference to start the season?
Yeah, they keep popping up because it's like perfect. Him and Anunoby are kind of like those kind of guys in terms of they can really guard on the ball, they can guard off the ball. They're big enough that they can guard a lot of positions, and they don't no one can stop a star. If you could really stop every star you guarded, you'd be the best defensive player in the NBA. But those types of guys who can actually make those guys work or actually give them fits are so rare. It's so hard to find them. Herb Jones is in that group to me. And so that's why, specifically with Bridges, it gets at least floated so much because he's on a team that sucks, right? It's so natural to think that the Nets are going to maybe trade him at some point. I think the Nets' plan is just going to be to try to use cap space to get a good free agent next year. But if they can't do that, trading Bridges makes a lot of sense, and he would fit on any team immediately. He'd be a great fit. And the Pacers specifically, who are already good and have ammo to trade, make a lot of sense in that way. So that and him and Anunoby, when he was with the Raptors, maybe even now, based on what people on ESPN are saying, I don't know if I know anything about that, but would be awesome fits. The problem is they're just not available because they're such awesome fits and they're so good, they don't become available. They're too good to be traded.
And again, maybe this is incredibly short-sighted thinking on my part, and I do want your opinion. I think that we are really we're not putting the expectations where they should be on the growth and elevation of games with Nembhard, and especially Mathurin upon his return. I think that these guys together, to me, and growing and keeping these guys you drafted under your own roof is better, and they can grow into the needs that certainly the Pacers have without going out and spending so much of what you have right now or being tempted to do that on Mikal Bridges. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's smart. I mean, I'm extremely high on Nembhard already. I think the Pacers are too. I mean, they just saw what he did in the postseason. He's approaching exactly what you'd want from a backcourt partner with Tyrese Haliburton in terms of the defense. He's getting better as a shooter. He shot 40% the last couple months of the season from three. And then they had those two playoff games at the end of the season where he showed if he really is given the leash and is hell-bent on getting to the rim, he can do it against the Celtics, the best defense in the league come playoff time. That is such a good player. And that was his second season in the league. It's hard to imagine what he actually could grow into or how he'll fit with this team. And Mathurin has such a crazy scoring skill set that, of course, it's natural to wonder what his ceiling is and how he'll fit in with a team like this. So there's a lot to like about what they are and what they could be, but the Pacers need them to be that now, right? That's what's hard about this stuff is they're on a winning timeline now. So they don't have, last year they had some wiggle room for development. Now they don't, right? Their expectations and their thinking, clearly, once you re-sign Siakam, you're about winning right now. So I'm very high on Nembhard. I'm pretty high on Mathurin. And I think that they'll be good fits on this team. But, I mean, with those three and McConnell, you're already kind of getting tough on the touches. It's going to be tough for all that to happen and them get better and the team win. So I think that something will have to come to a head at some point, not saying this season, but at some point with that quartet, given what the team is. But I am high on those guys, too. I think they can be better for this team and help them take big steps forward at some point in the next year or two.
Do the Pacers have time to see how this thing evolves and then do something if they're not happy with the product about it prior to the February trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, they have that time specifically, but it's only 7 months, and, it's early and a lot, do you want to give up on someone if you're the Pacers? That's what's so hard about where they are is to take the next steps. You either have to trade someone that you drafted and like or trade vets that you have signed and liked, right? It's going to be someone good that they like, and sometimes that's what it takes, right? The Nuggets had to trade Indy native Gary Harris to get Aaron Gordon. Gary Harris was awesome for the Nuggets. That was a painful trade, right? It's painful. The Celtics had to trade Marcus Smart to get to where they are, right? That hurt. He was a franchise legend, and I'm not saying that the Pacers need to be trading someone that's a fan favorite or is a very good player right now, but if the eval of this season and the time that they have with their young core coming up with the guys that make them as good as they can be, if it doesn't immediately gel and look awesome, you got to think about those hard trades. It's going to be extremely hard decisions to get this team to its peak, and I do not envy the people having to make those decisions, but I certainly think they're coming at some point, and they'll have that time until February to evaluate it, which is a short time. Like, you want at least a season or two, but I've been saying this, their expectations aren't about development anymore. It's about winning, and that's going to be the rubric why everybody's graded.
Can I give you a difference in what I think and have you play off of it, of what you just said?
Yeah.
Tony East, by the way, joins us. I think, and I love Gary Harris, and his dad knows that, who listens every day. I think we know what Gary is, what type of player he is. I think we also know what type of player Marcus Smart was. I think each team did. I think we know a lot less and have a virtual higher ceiling, even in the now, right now, with those two players from Matherin to Nembhard that we're talking about, as to comparing them to Gary Harris or Marcus Smart when those trades by those teams were made. Does that make sense?
That's true. That is definitely true, no doubt. I guess I meant more with those trades, like the emotional part of it,
right?
For those fan bases.
Yeah, and I've said the same thing, Tony, too. I've just made that comparison before, so it was top of mind when people bring at me, like Marcus Smart, for example, and I've made that my opinion known. So,
but that's the trouble with it is, like, how much time do they have for those guys to be young guys? Does that make sense? Like, they certainly have some, right? They have 5 years of Tyrese Haliburton under contract. They have agreed to 4 years of Pascal Siakam under contract. That's awesome. That sounds like a long time in the NBA. Like their starting lineup 4 years ago today was, Brogdon, LeVert, Warren, Sabonis, Turner. Like, 4 years in the NBA, a lot changes. Like, you don't have a ton of time to explore your cores and see how good stuff is. You never know what opportunities are going to be available. Like, those guys have to step up at some point, and I think they're good now, to be clear. But how their expectations change will influence how those decisions go, I think, will be fascinating. And, again, it's just going to be really hard. Like, no matter what decision they have to make, it's going to be really hard and emotional and tough to do. So I think the hope would just be that everyone looks great up through February and they're near the top of the East and are confident that this is a thing that could be, a high-level program for a long time, because they have young and good pieces that are old and young, and I think how they proceed is going to be fascinating.
It's funny how I feel about both Matherin and Nembhard. I think Nembhard has an old-school savvy scoring touch to him. He did, a lot of these advanced Euro steps that we see now. Like, I think initially people thought, well, he's going to be a jump shooter and that's about it. But I think now he's more of a scorer. And I'm not making a comparison at all, but the ways I see him put the ball in the basket kind of reminded me of times of a guy like Ricky Pierce, who was more of just a scorer. I'm not comparing the two players at all, because Nembhard has more of a blow-by skill as a guard, and they're not comparable as players, but just general scoring ability. I think Nembhard has an old-school savvy that we've already seen and he's tapped into that will have a really expedited growth as a part of it. And frankly, I sit here before you, Tony, I don't know if we're ever going to see a more motivated dude in the history of Pacer basketball than Benedict Matherin upon return. I cannot wait to see the Tasmanian Devil Human Torch type of effect he's going to have with himself and with his teammates, because you know how much it killed him to miss that this past spring.
He couldn't play, and he at the same time had to see his team be very good in his absence. And so the Tasmanian Devil part of it's going to be, I'm Ben Matherin. I'm really good, right? Like, I can score 16 points in any game. I can get to the foul line better than anybody my age. But I have to do that stuff in a way that adds to what's already here, because this team is already good, right? Like, I think that's going to be what is very fascinating. And I thought his Eggs interview was the most interesting one of any player on the roster, right? The way he had to open up about, like, his whole life, he's been the best player on his team, right? I think that's true for almost every NBA player, but, a guy like him who can score like him, certainly the case. And he got here, and he's not. And so he has to figure out how to be the guy he is, and the reason he got drafted is he was very good at, he can guard the ball pretty well, and he can score like crazy, and his shooting's good. How do you blend that with what the Pacers need you to be, which is that stuff, and a good team defender, and a good passer, and, like, a good off-ball cutter, and a smart cutter? Like, figuring all that out will be fascinating for him, and that was some of the conversations we had about him last year, but his season ended up changing. How he blends all that will be fascinating, because if he's the best version of himself Does that take away from McConnell? Does that take away from someone else? How does that all fit together in a way that is the best version of him and the best version of the Pacers? And I agree with you. He's going to be extremely motivated to figure it out. But I can't wait to see how it actually comes together because there's so many interesting factors at play there.
A final thing here, Tony, with you. Are we going to be on Miles Turner trade watch again, you think, during the season?
I don't think it'll be because of performance reasons like it potentially was before when he was playing next to Sabonis, where it was just like, does this make the most sense? Now it's all contractual stuff. So I don't think so, but I can't rule it out because, Chad Buchanan said it on your program, right? They cannot extend his contract. They can't do it. So he's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. And here's the thing. When they were rebuilding, you always think about what you do with expiring contracts. Now they're not. Now they're trying to win. So they don't have to make sure they get something for him. Like if they get a long playoff run out of him, that's valuable. But you think about the futures of players whose contracts are expiring, and that is Miles Turner now. So I don't think that they're going to shop him. I don't think they should shop him. But I think they should think about his future because of his contract situation and what they can do from there. And the other reason I think it's going to be at least brought up this season is if they make a big trade this season for a player with a high salary, to match salaries, they almost certainly have to include his contract just because of what he makes this season. So I don't think that they're going to be shopping him, but I do think that it'll get brought up because of all those factors.
All right, here's my thought in closing. We saw J.J. Redick get that gig with the Lakers, and I'm going to give you a bit of a window to the world here. It seemed like he incessantly, during Pacer games, talked about Miles Turner and T.J. McConnell. I just kind of wonder at some point with that team in need of other guys if maybe, and I don't know, again, these are just two guys, but he talked about them and loving them nonstop. And it just, I know Rob Pelinka runs the team, but this kind of makes me wonder if they might find some interest in a spot like that because you have a first-time ever head coach taking over who – and it wasn't just, oh, by the way, stuff. It was constant in the postseason. If you go back and watch how much he loved Miles, how much that's necessary, how much if he had a team, that's what he would need. The same thing with McConnell. It just makes me wonder.
Yeah, he was teammates with McConnell for 2 years, right? Like they know each other certainly very well from that time with Philadelphia. I'm sure, every NBA player knows every player from something, but specifically teammates know each other. I'm sure Redick and Miles Turner know each other from something too. So his now inclusion into the coaching ranks, can they stop having coaches that are young? It makes me feel really unqualified to do anything in my life.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Everybody knows who's running the program there, and once you take that gig, you have a very short shelf life, but it's the Lakers, and what the hell, you might as well, right? Unless you're Danny Hurley and you're obviously solid where you are, you might as well do it. All right, Tony East, SI Pacers, Forbes Sports, WTHR.com, Locked On Pacers, friend of the show. It is a hashtag Topless Thursday because of the heat here in Central Indiana. Tony's going to join in the gang over the course of the afternoon, too. My brother, I appreciate you. Have a great weekend. We'll check back in with you soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
So Tony East on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And I'm going to get back to what I said, and I know James needs me to break. I'm not comparing Nembhard to Ricky Pierce at all as players. But as a scorer, Nembhard, I think, has many already and will develop many more ways as a guard. As a 6'4" guy to put the ball in the basket. And when I think about players like that, Ricky Pierce always is top of mind. And Ricky Pierce, for a moment, remember, played here in the 90s. Savvy offensive player. He just already seems like a veteran type of presence as a scorer. And he's different because he can also get by you and get to the glass. I just think he has a myriad of offensive moves that are old school and consistent with putting the ball in the basket. And that's why I've said I would not jack with that. All right, quick break. We'll come back. More of your thoughts on it at 239-1070 inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, and Mike Chappell less than 30 away on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A quick question for dads. Is your child's school providing them?
Ride with JMV.
Collect them, trade them, or just enjoy them.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
James over there, I'm John. Greg Rakestraw just sent me a picture. He has the JMV burger at Ford's Garage. Ford's Garage up in Noblesville. Is there a new location now? I think there's one coming to Avon, is there not? Happy first day of summer, everybody. Shout out to Greg Rakestraw and my burger at Ford's Garage. Greg's got both the burger and some just incredible onion rings. And they give you those onion rings as an appetizer. You guys had those where they put them around the oil funnel and then give it to you? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's outstanding right there. Big Braille writes this, so I feel you on Ricky Pierce and that comparison, but to me, Nembhard plays more like a younger Brogdon, and that's going to scare everybody away with that. I will tell you this. There is a combination that Nembhard has that Brogdon never did. Brogdon is not a willing passer at all. Nembhard is. At times, I do think when Nembhard does dribble it or over-dribble it, you would look at that and go, all right, that's like Brogdon, because Brogdon would dribble the air out of the basketball. And I also think that Nembhard can be much more of not just a willing passer, as I said, but a willing defender. I just think we're scratching the surface on a lot of things from him to where I just would not be willing to put him in any deal whatsoever. That's me. Lord of the mayor of Indianapolis. I thought you were going to say Lord of the Manor, like a Seinfeld reference right there, meaning in the contest, you didn't do any chafing. If you know what I mean. JMV, I hate to say it, but I think the Pacers are going to move Miles this year. Tony East made it sound like that they may not have any other thing to do other than move Miles at some point here. I will tell you this, and I've gone back and forth for years for this, but I do feel good because I have won the argument through his play. His play has won the argument. He has been a fit. He has been good. And most anybody out there that has a brain, some don't, and I understand that, but most anybody out there with a brain certainly understands that. However, I'll mention this and mention this again. For anybody out there that would be willing to make, like we got a call I did earlier this week that mentioned, well, what the Pacers need is Jared Allen. No, you don't. You have to have somebody with the capabilities of being a threat off the pick and pop. You're not going to pick and roll to the basket every time. Teams will take that away. Again, Miles is a multi-threat. And what have I always told you about this Pacer team while trying to improve defensively, while trying to improve rebounding? You gotta, and that is good. But you don't jack with the offense. You don't do it. And you saw what happened. And their defense did get better. Certainly more than it was in their regular season. We saw it get better in the postseason. You cannot mess with the offense. And that is a huge part. I mean, hell, it starts every offensive set for the most part. Most. You can't mess with it. So I've said this all along. If there's something that you can find that will equally work and be that multi-dimensional threat offensively, I'm all for it. But so many times people mention, well, Isaiah Hartenstein will get you all these offensive boards, and then I would have a better shooting percentage if I punted the basketball up there off a pick and pop than Isaiah Hartenstein would have. He's got 8-foot floater game and a dunk, and that is it. That's not going to work. Not working. Jared Allen is a talented big man that certainly can dunk, certainly can rebound, probably can give you some offensive rebounds if the dude is ever healthy. But you think anybody's going to pay 1 ounce of attention to any pick and pop from him? No. Again, I understand you want to get better. You want to get better defensively. And to me, a lot of that relies on what you do defensively on the perimeter. I think automatically you get better on the perimeter defensively. That makes you a better rebounding team because you keep dudes out of the lane. And then you keep your big from coming over, being compromised and picking and choosing, having to close somebody out, coming to the rim at him, or, giving up the weak side for either a lob or a rebound, put back opportunity. Like automatically your defensive rebounding capacity gets better if your defense on the perimeter is better. With this group, there's nothing that's ever going to help the offensive rebounding. It's just the way that it is. But again, if you do that, You cannot upset the offense. And a lot of these deals that you floated to me, a lot of these ideas that you have, they do not work with this team because it compromises the offense. And as I love to say, don't be jacking with it. Because if you do, you're going to pay the price. Lakers believe that J.J. Redick, who they hired today as their next head coach, could be their version of Eric Spoelstra. I don't know if they're going to be their version of Eric Spoelstra, but we shall see. Yeah, and again, I don't want to use Jeff Saturday as an example, but you could if you wanted to, football-wise. I know that thing wasn't going to work and it isn't going to work, but I still bristle at the way that people went about that at the tail end. But you knew that was coming. The second choice and the overall choice of LeBron James. And you knew that was the direction in which they were going to go. JMV at 1075thefan.com. It seems to me that you and James have a failure to communicate. A shout out to the late Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke right there. What we have here is a failure to communicate indeed. That's good. JMV, I agree with you regarding your thoughts on the fever. Just kind of seemed like that nobody really knew or understood what to expect, and you just expected Caitlin Clark to be Iowa Caitlin Clark and the team to be kind of Iowa Caitlin Clark-led team that's the fever, and it wasn't going to go that way, and then people got disappointed, and then you throw everything else, news and politics into it. And you have a melting pot of ridiculousness as we got. That absolutely, Jim, is spot on. That's what you got. This is, the last three games especially, has been so much more of exactly what should have been expected. Now, I will say this. As far as the notoriety, the publicity, the hype, all of that in mind, I don't think anybody could have been prepared for it all the way. But as far as expectations on the floor and the win-loss column, with that schedule, the way that it looked, with a team trying to get together with one another, with a coach probably not ready at all on how to handle it, organizationally speaking, you're just trying to make sure everybody's going to be happy and you don't miss out of the opportunity, this Haley comet that's flying through of hype and publicity and of ratings. You're going to make sure you're not going to miss out on anything. And then, what you really miss out on is the fact that this player and this team was just not ready for all that yet. This is now more like it. And you can grow off of that, which, again, Caitlin Clark has said all along, she wants to get better. She wants to earn. She wants to hoop. This is more of what this team is about because they have played teams that are around talent level right now where this team is. Makes a hell of a lot more sense, doesn't it? All right, quickly, we'll come back. Mike Chappell's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. If you missed this, the Fan on the Back 9, Thursday, July the 18th. Presented by Franciscan Health. We're going to eat. We're going to drink. A couple of shows are going to be out there. Aquarian Company will be there. I'll be there with this show as well, having a blast. You need tickets. Get your tickets at 1075thefan.com. Don't mess around and not get tickets. Make sure you're there. Tickets available now, 1075thefan.com. Sports memorabilia, you'll be able to bid on that. One-of-a-kind experiences. Certificate. You got to be there, though. Back 9. Morris and Drover is that location. We shot some videos out there on Tuesday, but I want to make sure that everybody is there. You got plenty of time to make sure that you schedule on your calendar this event, Thursday, July the 18th. The Fan of the Back 9 Golf Tournament presented by Franciscan Health. Yeah, log on. Make sure you're a part of that. 1075thefan.com. Cannot wait to see you there. And, in fact, I'm going to be there coming up tomorrow. Not for this event, but with Deep Eddy Vodka. It's our party deck tour stop. I know we're going to get one Channel 13 lady in a Lindsay Monroe. I'm not quite sure about a Galeros effect just yet. We'll see. Going to get enough sleep, right? We're not worried about sleep. We're worried about having a good time and partying. Tomorrow's going to be a blast. Hope to see you there. Again, back 9 beginning at 3. And there's going to be a lot to do. I'm assuming there's going to be a band out there at some point, too, because they do have a stage at the back 9. And the complimentary samples with Brent Halverson also flowing tomorrow at the back 9. All right, quick one. We'll come back. Chapel, top of the hour. Me and you coming up next at 239-1070. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. If you want tickets to see Kenny Chesney, have a great time because that show is at Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center coming up later on tonight. So prepare for a blast and probably, temperature-wise, some sort of a blast furnace up there too. But it's going to be fun. And if you won those tickets on here, congratulations. Enjoy. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Letterman! Hi, David. I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
J.J. Redick getting hired by the Lakers today with zero experience. Oh, no, I remember the Jeff Saturday coming from ESPN to coach the Colts, and that didn't work. And then bunch of clowns around here signed a petition. Some of you clowns aren't really clowns. I do like you, but too many clowns signed a petition. And it was stupid for one of the best Colts players of our existence around here that, among others, helped usher in a golden era in which most of us thought at one point in time would never, ever occur. That maybe that's another. I mean, you cut Peyton Manning, you sign a petition for Jeff Saturday. Maybe that's why this team has been cursed. No, they're not cursed. I don't think. But if they are, that's a pretty damn good couple of reasons right there. Never, just don't do that. Don't dump on your legends. And then don't let people tell you that don't know any better that, hey, it's time to move on. I'm sick and tired of people talking about the Manning era. What did Jeff Saturday ever do? Those are just idiots. Don't listen to idiots. You celebrate that stuff. Everybody does. That's why now you're going to have more of a history than Jim Harbaugh for a season and the 12th man, which is no longer in the Ring of Honor, but you know what I mean. That's why you get to pick and choose now about your Ring of Honor and not have to make up some stuff. Yeah, you can never dump on that. But no, I'm sure it's not nearly going to be the same. I mean, the NBA and the NFL obviously is going to be different, but I think we all know how this is going to end because really anybody that you're going to hire right there is more than likely going to end in a similar capacity. Not well. You just go and say, what the hell? Let's go and see what happens right now. See if you can do something about it. And know that you get an ironclad 4-year deal, that you've got a buyout, and just feel good about it. You're JJ Redick. I have no problem with it. And you can't have a problem with it anymore because, you know, these are things that, 20 years ago we thought would never happen. And now they do. And now you can roll with it. So, yeah, I have zero problem with it. Don't dump on your golden era. What in the world? Never do that. Yeah, just a quick thought right there. All right, 239-1070, email address at jmv1075thefan.com. Again, I mentioned we're on the road coming up tomorrow at the back nine. Cannot wait to see you there. Chesney on the road later on tonight at Ruoff. You guys enjoy that. That is going to be, I'm assuming, a packed show on a very hot first day and night of summer here in central Indiana. Yeah, you got to enjoy that. JMV, I'm with you regarding the young players for the Pacers, but I can't lie. I would be interested to see just how a guy like Mikal Bridges could fit in roles in which the Pacers, you could see a year ago, desperately need. I like him a great deal. I don't like him at that price tag. And again, we were talking to Tony East a little bit earlier, and he brought up, Gary Harris. He brought up Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart has been a point that I've made before. I just feel like you know what you're trading. You know what you're giving up with a guy like Marcus Smart. You know where he is in his game. He's a very good defensive player, good player in general, but you know what you're giving up. With Matherin, with Nembhard, you have no idea the ceiling yet, and you don't know what you're giving up. And I love the fact that you expedite the winning process with this extension to Pascal Siakam, and you're supposed to win right now. I just don't think you disregard these two guys, especially on the Pacers, helping you win again at a high level right now. Am I missing something? Why can't these guys be viewed in that capacity? Will I be missing something? If they start out the season slow, the first half of the season slow, and maybe I end up being wrong. I have to hear all the time about Mikal Bridges is the guy that they need right now. Why can't you keep Nimhart, you keep Matherin? Am I overplaying both, and especially Matherin, a guy that you haven't seen in a long time? I don't think I am. How many times did you think about over the course of this playoff run, I wonder what this would look like if Matherin were healthy? You had to think about it a lot because I heard from you thinking about it a lot. JMV, I too grew up with 4 over-the-air channels, but no excuse not to know Cool Hand Luke. What the heck you watch on Saturday and Sunday afternoons from mid-June till the start of football on those 4 channels, James. James with no Cool Hand Luke experience right there. That is really weird. I understand. All right, quick one, we'll come back. Hey, JMV, I think people are just kind of trolling you. Are people trolling me regarding Bridges? I like him, too. I do. I like him as a player. Got to understand the price tag. JMV, people have to embrace the superstars like Manning. They don't come along that often, especially in the crap that you've seen around here recently. Why would you ever downplay that? Why would you ever dump on it? Unless you're just stupid. And the same with several players surrounding him, and one of those being Jeff Saturday. For real. All right, James, quick break. We'll come back. Chappell's going to join us next.
eBay Motors is here for the ride.
And not only did our friends at AAA, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live, for example, but Matt not only gave away Chesney tickets, but somebody there, if you had a AAA card, you got a set of 4 tires and installation. You're not just like Dalton from Roadhouse and you show up with your car and throw 4 tires in the trunk. I swear it to you. There are movies that you know that are on every single day. We are so blessed that every day of our lives, you can find Roadhouse on some channel. Every single day. It's amazing. I don't think we have ever seen a film that is on every single day like Roadhouse. There's a reason behind it. They would not have it programmed every single day as they do. The television content gods out there would not have it programmed if it was, simply put, not one of the greatest of all time. And even with one of these ridiculous remakes that I haven't seen yet, the Jake Gyllenhaal one, even with that, remains to be one of the all-time greats. I'll give you a great example. I was watching something this morning, and I did not know that there's a reboot of House Party. Like, how do you not watch the original 1990 Kid and Play House Party with Full Force? How do you not watch that and go, yeah, we can't remake that because this is way too damn good? Amazing. I know it's not exactly like the original House Party, but it's got the same name. It's kind of like it. It's supposed to be like it. It's supposed to drag us there, those that really loved it. How can you do that? But you check, report back to me every single day, somewhere on TV, you can find Roadhouse. It's amazing. You go home tonight, you'll find it. Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. You'll find him every Thursday right here after 5 o'clock. Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. How are you?
Good. And bringing up Roadhouse, it brings up one of those events that's seared in your mind. I had just gotten married to my wife, Kathy, and we went to Myrtle Beach with her daughter, Ashley, and her best friend, Audra. And for an evening, we went to see Roadhouse. This is 89, or right. I was 89 when it came out. And I thought, look, this will be a nice little, couple-hour diversion. Well, these girls are, they were, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Well, there were a couple of scenes,
yes.
Like when the guy takes his girlfriend in the closet for his break, and I'm sitting there thinking,
he got fired. I'm on my break.
Well, I'm glad he did, because it left a bad impression with my young kids.
He got fired. Oh man, he was on his break in the storeroom. Yes,
I'm just taking my break. Well, he said stay on it. So, yeah, I should have known better. But
yeah,
it's a good movie. Those are I've not seen the one with Jake Gyllenhaal, whatever it is, and I have no plans on it because some things you just don't remake, and that's one of the things that's really irritating with Hollywood or wherever, where they remake things because they run out of ideas for new stuff. And some things you just leave it alone. Would I want to see a remake of Animal House or Caddyshack? Absolutely not. So, that's one they should have left alone, probably.
We have, Footloose, Red Dawn, even as much as I like Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, you can't be better than Richard Roundtree and Shaft. It's just not possible.
And like with Roadhouse, Swayze, but Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott's one of the all-time great. I hate calling him a character actor because that's not what he's much, much better than that. But he was perfect for the role of, backup bouncer who will more than take care of himself. So, it's just find something new or leave it alone. And, and people are surprised when the remake sucks. Well, of course it does.
Well, Storeroom, Hean and Sheehan, or, that meeting with Dalton in the loft, right? After that kind of pseudo date right there. the table dance, whatever. The one thing that they did do wrong in Roadhouse is you can't kill off Sam Elliott. You just can't do it.
Well, I know.
Can't happen.
Yeah, and what was it, a knife in the chest or whatever?
Oh,
it was?
yeah, left him right there on the bar. Yeah, like he was the tip.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And the fact that Ben Gazzara got gutted at the end, that's fine.
Yeah, well, and then that too. Ben Gazzara wouldn't have 5 seconds with the best cooler in the world in Dalton, much less he lasted way too long. I mean, he shouldn't have been. I mean, even if he had a gun or a knife or a sword or a chainsaw, he should not have lasted as long as he did.
But what's cool about it was cut from the same cloth of all these where, maybe in the Old West where or a gang of guys come in and take over a tent and they call in somebody to clean. That's what it is. And you understood that, but it was still good. It was still done well, and so just leave it alone because it was, was it Academy Award worthy? Of course not. But it's one of those where, like, for an hour, for 90 minutes, you got away and you didn't care, and you got to see some butt kicking along the way.
Yeah, I mean, just that is the type of film that you'll want to watch. That's why they continue to put it on every single day. On TV somewhere.
And whenever I'm channel surfing, I'll A Few Good Men, the last 45 minutes are classic. There's several movies like that. And my wife will walk in. Like today, I'm sitting here watching. I'm just killing time, and I've got Independence Day on. And she walks in from work, and she says, "Are you kidding me?" Well, I said, "No, it's because it's stupid, but it was good, and I'll watch it for the 2000th time." So, because I'm brain dead.
We should R.I.P. one of the great actors, and that's Donald Sutherland, who passed away evidently late last night.
Terrible, and I don't want to, on his grave or whatever. But I always thought he wasn't a great actor.
Really?
Although later on in his career, he did some really good things. I thought he and Chris Christopherson were neck and neck for. Are you kidding me? These guys get paid for this. But I thought later in his career, Italian Job, when of course he wasn't in it a lot, and a remake, Body Snatchers, which was okay.
Yeah,
Body Snatchers was okay, but like him in Animal House, the teacher who kind of
the pot smoking professors who yes
who was messing with the one
he found Milton as boring as we would find.
Yeah,
Milton.
so then he spends his time sleeping with co-eds. So
he did.
What's wrong with that?
He slept with Boone's girlfriend when they went on the road trip.
That's right. So, but no, I thought like Kiefer Sutherland is really good. I thought Donald was okay, but later in his career, I thought he was really good.
Love
but
it.
It's just taste.
I love it. It's Donald Sutherland passed away today, unfortunately, and
well, we're losing people, and the older
it's all good, man.
It started like with Carl Erskine, which was a blow. And then, of course, you lose Mays and all that. And it's just really – I mean, I grew up with these guys. I grew up with Mays and Mantle. I can still remember going down to 4th Street here in Beach Grove with my bat, and I'm playing imaginary ball with rocks on my wooden bat. And at the end of the month, my bat's just shredded. But I was Mantle because I thought I was a good switch hitter. But those guys were just, Al Kaline, Rocky Calavito, and I mean, Harmon Killebrew.
We were talking about Willie Mays passing away at the age of 93 yesterday, and you know what? It's okay to go back and look at the reason why. For example, he's described as one of the greatest in baseball of all time, even though he wasn't near the wheelhouse in what I watched. I mean, hell, I would be 3 years old when people said he was over the hill and playing for the Mets. But you can go back and see some video and read about the greatness and watch people talk about it and still help people understand it. I think we're getting to a point right now around here, Mike, where I just brought this up with J.J. Redick getting the Lakers job. Has no prior coaching experience, and people have compared that to Jeff Saturday midseason getting the interim head coaching job here. And while I remember going back a couple of years with that, it didn't work out, and it wasn't going to work out, and going to Shane Steichen was the call, but I hated the way that a lot of fans treated Jeff Saturday at the end of his time here with a petition, because that era, whether it's Manning or Saturday or Wayne or Harrison or whomever, always has to be celebrated because it has given this market the only highest level of winning that we have seen outside of the ABA. So you never besmirch the golden era, and you look back on it, and some people did, and I had the receipts for it because it still pisses me off.
Well, what was wrong about that entire year, which, again, I've done this since '84 with this team, and there have been so many bad moments. The one thing that the baseline for everything you do, I guess, in life or in sports is you don't put people in position to fail. That's job one, is to not do that. So many times that year they put people in a position to fail. Bernhard Raimann at left tackle and Thursday night in Denver with really no practice, and Jeff Saturday. Matt Ryan, it looked good and then it wasn't, but there was no way that Jeff Saturday was going to succeed. It just wasn't going to happen. But you're right. People then, it's like they took it personal. How could you do that to my team? Well, if you're going to be PO'd at somebody, be PO'd at the owner for doing it. You know, it's obvious Chris Ballard didn't want to do it. I mean, that wasn't his decision. But sort of, what did you expect with the Jeff Saturday move? That was a broken team. Broken. You could have put, Bill Belichick in charge of that, and it would have been just as bad. Now, maybe he wouldn't have lost a 33-0 lead, but you just don't put people in position to fail. And time after time, Sam Ellinger in New England, when he was just pummeled, you just don't do that, and they did it time after time. So I would not defend the job that Jeff Saturday did, but I certainly wouldn't tear down his career as a player. I mean, those are two separate things. And he was pretty good on ESPN too, as an analyst or whatever. But maybe you and I disagree. I just thought he had no business being named interim coach. There was just nothing. One of the things they put was crazy. In one of the bios they put out for him when this was announced is, well, he attended training camp last year or this past year. So what? You were a high school coach. So what? So I thought they could have done 20 things different.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. But once he's there, then it's what you've got. But that should not throw any shade on his career, because he was.
And that's what bugged me. That's the part that bugged me. And we all understood that there was no future there with him as a head coach. But
then it was a perfect example of, then there's chum in the water, and then everybody comes out and piles on. A petition against Jeff Saturday, really?
Yeah,
you're that.
This is my position is to make sure people are educated not to do stupid stuff like that. So that's why I was so incredibly outspoken and continue to be. Yeah,
but that's the environment we live in now, where it's you can't just disagree. You've got to disagree to the nth level, which really upsets me on so many levels. Yes, politics, but in sports too. These hot takes and the big problem now, the big issue now is there are so many people with a forum on social media, and starting with the Stephen A's and on down, that, it's a Caitlin Clark thing, to where there just can't be a flagrant one. It's got to be that, Angela Reese was trying to hurt her. Well, no, it was a basketball play. So that's where things are. It's not just the event. It's blown up. And the Jeff Saturday thing, again, through all my years, was one of the most surreal periods of time because of so much that had gone wrong. But it should not even remote. I mean, what, are you supposed to go out and take his name down from the Ring of Honor? Are you kidding me? So I thought he's still one of the great Colts, and he was instrumental in a decade that is only surpassed by maybe New England. Now, as far as the number of wins, regular season wins, it is by a few wins. But had that team won another Super Bowl like in 2009, it would have gone down as one of the best stretches, up there with the Niners and all those guys. So that was a great time, and to think that what happened with his short time as a coach, interim coach, impacted his legacy is ridiculous because it shouldn't. It shouldn't, and I don't think it does.
One of the lasting memories, Mike Chappell's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline of that short tenure was Nick Foles getting Joe Ferguson in New York against the Giants, and the celebration out of that, and nobody came to his defense, and that kind of popped back up a week or so ago when Caitlin Clark got knocked down, and nobody came to her defense. And I guess what I'm thinking about, did anybody? I know that Saturday was pissed about that, especially pissed. But did anybody ever have to own that? Do you ever find out how that was handled within a locker room that clearly was absolutely splintered at that point in time?
Jeff Saturday addressed it where he said that's been taken care of, and he made it very clear that I get the impression he went in the O-line room and said, "Are you guys crazy? I don't care if you hate the guy. You come," and I'm not saying they did it all. I'm just saying you come to the guy's defense. And I thought that was probably the worst moment and rock bottom of a lost season is when you've got your quarterback laying there. He may have been out, I don't know. But then you got Thibodeau doing those, the snow angel type of thing. And somebody should have got thrown at. And I swear to God, the first thing I thought about when Caitlin Clark got hip checked out is nobody – and they say, well, some of her teammates were at the other end. No, somebody just threw the ball in.
Yeah, it was Aaliyah Boston. Yeah, it was right there.
Somebody comes and gets thrown out of the game. They just do. If you don't protect, I don't care if it was Caitlin Clark or the 12th person on the bench. If somebody does that to a teammate, there has to be a reckoning. You see it in baseball all the time. Not all the time, but you see benches cleared because you protect your guys. And the fact that nobody, the Quintons and the Ryan Kellys or nobody came to the quarterback's defense. It just told you how broke the season was. And that's, again, I swear to goodness, that's the first thing that came to my mind when Clark got leveled is, are you kidding me? So if you don't have that connection among your team, whether it's the WNBA, whether it's the Colts, then what have you got? I mean, that's your family, that's your group. And I'm telling you, back in the day, I remember the old Will Wolfords and Kirk Loudermilks. They would have taken somebody out. There would have been a suspension by the league because they would have taken Thibodeau and turned him upside down. And would that have been overreaction? Maybe, but that's what you have to do. You protect your own. And if that didn't tell you how broken that team was at that point, nothing will.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kind of similar in this case to Caitlin Clark. Certainly on the Colts level is the love that you have seen on a national level here, like Field Yates, for example. Talking about Anthony Richardson and the level of expectations. And I talk about Caitlin Clark, the expectations for her and this Fever team were way out of whack. And you see a high level of expectations coming in, not about the Colts in general, but certainly about their quarterback who has very little experience playing that position in the NFL because of injuries so far. Are those expectations a little bit out of whack as well, considering what we still don't know about Richardson?
Probably, but that's partly on the team as well, because I thought by all the actions that they've taken this year off season, by re-signing their own and not doing a whole lot in free agency and what they've added in the draft, they've sort of made it very clear that they believe that this roster is more than good enough to compete, certainly for the AFC South, maybe more, with a healthy Richardson playing more than 4 games. And I always include, like with Jonathan Taylor, because he played maybe half the season last year, full go. So, but yeah, you're right. That's what it points to. And I've said, and I still believe it, some people have written about the Colts, and this is a team you better watch. But by and large, it's not. This is a team that's been under the radar. And oh, by the way, whatever the over/under is on wins, whether it's 9.5 or whatever it is, it's very, very quiet around the Colts going into the season, which is probably a good thing. But I think expectations should be high. But again, you're right. It's all based on a quarterback who has started 4 games after a 13, 14 game college career. So I sort of get blinded by, I thought he looked pretty good in 4 games. He threw 84 passes. He threw 84 passes. But what we've seen, you think, boy, this might be the guy. I hope what I'm going on is more factual and that he really, as opposed to, man, we can't go through this quarterback crapple again for 4 or 5 years, because it gets you nowhere. It gets you absolutely nowhere. And so everyone is really beyond hope that this guy can be the guy, and he needs to be. We've talked about it. If he's not, where are you? But if he is, he's going to be the guy in 3 years to get that incredible contract. All these guys getting the big contracts. Trevor Lawrence gets $55 million, however you want to look at it. He's 20-30 as a starter. He's won 1 playoff game. Now, I realize he had to overcome that lost Urban Meyer season, but that's what you need to have. You need to have that quarterback be the guy. And if Trevor Lawrence isn't the guy, the Jaguars are lost. And if Richardson isn't the guy, these guys are going to be scrambling. But if he is, from what we saw, a lot is possible. But no, you're right. It's there's a lot of pressure on him. And is it fair or not? I don't know. Probably not, but that's where it is when you're the number 4 pick in the draft and you're a quarterback and you've shown some pretty impressive things with your legs and your arm and all that. I understand the expectations, but at the same time, they're probably a little unfair because, again, he really hasn't done a lot yet.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. In closing here regarding Richardson, I don't know if we've talked about this very much, if at all. A lot was made about sitting back and watching and observing and learning. Is that as overrated to you as it is to me?
I think that's yes. I'm old enough to remember Peyton Manning, who learned by getting his butt handed to him a lot. So yes. I think they're saying that because that's what happened. I don't think it serves them much of a purpose to say, yeah, it was okay, but boy, I need to play. Because go back to this time last year or training camp last year, and all they were saying is reps. The guy needs to play, needs reps. Well, and then when he doesn't get them, it's, it was really valuable to step back and be able to watch. Well, that's, I understand why you're saying it, but you're saying it because you can't really say, man, he missed so much time last year. He's got so much time to make up. But this is where we are, and the Colts never ever considered letting Peyton Manning sit and watch. They never did. From the day he was drafted, he was out there for the first minicamp practice, and they knew it was going to be tough. One thing that I mentioned, like with the Caitlin Clark and the expectations, how she's already lost more games this year than she did regular season, her last year at Iowa. Well, Peyton lost more games in his rookie season, 13, than he did in his entire high school and college career. So, it wore on him. It really wore on him to lose game after game. But he learned by playing. And we've talked that it was that Frisco game, week 8 or week 9, where, man, the light went on. And okay, this guy's got it. The game was too quick for him early, but he's got it. He knows what he's doing. And I think we're seeing that with Caitlin Clark now. I think she looks much more comfortable. So you got to play. You got to play. And again, I just threw back and said, I just think they're saying all these narratives about, well, he learned and all this because that's what he had to do.
Right.
But to think that was better than playing, I don't care if they go 5-12 with him last year. It's so much more important to play because now he's going to have. There's still going to be rookie growing pains in year 2. There's going to be a game probably they lose because he does something stupid. Because he doesn't know better at the time that you shouldn't do whatever he did. But there's no if you're a high draft pick as a rookie quarterback and you don't start, it's because you're not ready. And whether it's Drake May or whomever, if you're good enough to be on the field as Peyton was, you take your lumps because it's going to make you better in year 2. And again, the Colts were 13-3 the next year for a lot of reasons. It wasn't just Peyton, but there's not a chance. There's not a chance that the Colts believe that he was better off learning, watching, than playing. Not a chance.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. More to come, sure, this offseason. And before you know it, we'll be talking about training camp on the doorstep, too. Mike, I appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Talk to you next week. Be well, guys.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. I saw this. Pat Knight, the new head coach at Marion, hired Todd Howard as an assistant. Todd Howard's a really good local coach here, certainly in high school. Recruited George Hill, I believe, back in the day, did he not? But he joins Pat Knight. We have an NBA trade to talk about, too. We'll do that coming up on the other side. A lot of interesting stuff going on with that, too. And the big stories today we'll jump back to as well. 239-1070 is the number. We'll close out with you. That is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. The AAA Membership Lounge. That's via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
A slow network is no network. Picture me?
No. The definition of the word idiot, which you f***ing are.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, if you're on your way to Chesney right now, I'm assuming I just looked at the traffic map. I did not go across the hall and grab any advice from the traffic guru, Matt Baer, on 93 WIBC, but I looked at the map, and it does not look good. It looks like you're going to be waiting a minute. I think that's like every day now, right? Especially if you have to go north to south or south to north. That's Chesney tonight, and congratulations to all of our listener winners through AAA membership that are heading out tonight to enjoy Kenny Chesney. Is Kenny Chesney like with, unfortunately, with Jimmy Buffett no longer with us, is his music more country or more Buffett-esque? See the closest you have to Buffett now? Seems like one of those summertime fun shows that everybody attends. Kenny Chesney tonight at Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center. And again, congratulations to everybody that won those tickets as being a part of this show. I did mention this before the break. The Bulls and the Thunder together for a deal. Alex Caruso, who at 30 years of age is described as kind of a solidifying piece to what could be a higher level championship type of puzzle. Alex Caruso from the Bulls to the Thunder, and the Thunder trade Australian guard Josh Giddey. So that's Adrian Wojnarowski with that news. Again, it's weird. You get like an older veteran and a very young, a former lottery selected player in Giddey. But Caruso has been coveted by many teams that believe that they're on the verge and need, some help defensively, especially in the backcourt. And if there's a team out there that can obviously soak up a veteran type of player, very young team, very talented team, Oklahoma City would be that. So Alex Caruso from the Bulls to OKC for Josh Giddey, according to ESPN and Adrian Wojnarowski this afternoon. The other nugget of info that he had was that J.J. Redick's going to take over as the new head coach of the Lakers. So that not altogether a surprise, but that also some decent news today. At JMV 1070, JMV, if anyone asks what Saturday did for the Colts, remind them of the fumble he recovered for a TD in the 07 AFC title game. That and a myriad of other things. Listen, the Colts handled that whole situation badly, and Saturday was over his head. That team was an absolute mess. That organization at the time was an absolute mess. But he still did not deserve some of the stupidity and the petition-oriented crap that he got. Just didn't. Everybody knew it wasn't that hard to understand. And again, I blame the younger generation for that. I think a lot, if you're my age and you went through all the junk you had to go through to see that era and Super Bowl 41 and a title and understand what he brought just outside of, 2.5 months in a ridiculously awful, embarrassing season as it was the year before last. I think most people, if you've been through it, understood what he brought, what he means. And, some others just simply put didn't. And I've always been a big fan of Just Saturday and always will be. Well, we all know it wasn't going anywhere, and that thing was an absolute mess. There did, however, not need to be a petition brought up against one of the greatest to ever do it around here. And a part of an era which, good luck with trying to surpass that, whatever you think. If you think they didn't win enough, Think they should have won another Super Bowl, fine. Should have won more, whatever. And you still have no idea. There's nothing that compares or has compared to that. I have no idea. But no, that is, I think, one of the incredible examples that you certainly could make. And the reason why we relive that is because J.J. Redick comes directly from ESPN, and now he's the head coach of the Lakers and is going to have to add to his staff a great deal of experience moving forward here, you would think. And we shall see if that works out for him. It is hard to believe. I think it's easily forgotten. Maybe not. But there's been such a large level of lack of results. You just kind of look at that. It's like, all right, let's see how you can make this season worse. And you did. Just complete and utter discombobulation. No question about that. Hey, JMV, do you think what's going on at Lucas Oil Stadium will spark any more interest with other big-time national opportunities? All right. It always should, because what's going on right now, what's being executed with Lucas Oil Stadium and the swimming qualifiers, what's being executed right now, everybody knew exactly how it was going to go down. Everybody knows. It's no secret, right? It is no secret how well this city, how well the people that handle the big events, the sports corp, how well they handle things. So, yeah, it should be on everybody's radar every time. This is easy. This would be the easiest pick. And even if that is another Super Bowl, which I have been outspoken in suggesting that won't happen in my lifetime, but they certainly are deserving of it. Just any big event, it has to be at the top of everybody's list. Just look how cool and fun and, in the local and national public eye, the Olympic swimming qualifier has become over the course of this week. It's been really cool, and I'm not a big swimming fan. I don't know too much about it other than what I've been watching here. Obviously Lily King and, the local kids from Hamilton County and what they've been able to do in advancing to Paris for the Olympics. It has brought in a very cool local angle and a lot of eyeballs in once again nationally. And for us, it's like, ho-hum, here we go again. This is what they do here. So with any big event, any big sporting event, what have you, Indy has to always be at the top of anybody's wish list. Now and forever, really. You just will not find it any better. Hey, JMV, I believe Monty Williams is available as the first assistant for J.J. Redick's staff. Monty Williams, have you seen how much money he has made in the past year after being dismissed in Phoenix and then signed to a big deal in Detroit, and after 1 year being dismissed in Detroit? That is some amazing stuff right there. It's like Kirk Cousins level money making. Incredible. JMV, I know you brought up Donald Sutherland passing away a little bit earlier. Were you a big fan of the film Ordinary People? He was the father, the patriarch of that family. Robert Redford, I think, directed Ordinary People in 1980. It was the film debut of Timothy Hutton. It was an incredible film. Mary Tyler Moore was a part of the cast as well. It was incredibly depressing. It was also one of the first, north side of Chicago-oriented films. Now, certainly much more of a serious tone here. No doubt about that. It's the first time I can remember. I think it was like the Highland Park area of Chicago, but much more of a serious tone than what you ended up getting. By the way, too, if you're a big fan of John Hughes movies of the 1980s, I saw where Anthony Michael Hall in August is going to be at the, is it the Irving Theater? Over here off of East Washington. think he is going to come in and they are going to have a screening of Weird Science, if I saw that accurately, with Anthony Michael Hall. Thus, Anthony Michael Hall needs to make it on this show. That's coming up in August. I believe I have that right. I don't have it in front of me. The Irving Theater over on East Washington Street. Anthony Michael Hall still going at it, but certainly most noted for the John Hughes Classics Vacation, National Lampoon's Original Vacation. Six Pack with the late Kenny Rogers. Anthony Michael Hall in the month of August. Quick break. We'll come back. Final time for you tomorrow on the road. We are going to be at Back 9 for a Deep Eddy Vodka Party Deck Tour stop at the Back 9 tomorrow. I got to see everybody out there, right? Seriously, you're not going to be on the way home and get anywhere tomorrow. So just join me off of Morrison Drover tomorrow at the Back 9. We start at 3 coming up tomorrow. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Quality care.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
lady? Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Skivvies writes, this JMV, the person just asked for more big events at Lucas Oil. What is this from here? Wrestle Votes. Pro wrestling coverage. Wrestle Votes exclusive. I'm told WWE and the Indiana Sports Corp are nearing a multi-event deal, starting with 2025 and the Royal Rumble at Lucas Oil Stadium on Saturday, February the 25th. What is that? Okay, I'm sorry. 2025. That's February the 1st, 2025. The Royal Rumble. In addition, the deal is likely to include a future WrestleMania and SummerSlam, which would both take place at Lucas Oil Stadium. Are you a wrestling guy, James?
I am.
Well, James is over there getting all aroused. This is according to Wrestle Votes. Thank you, Skivvies, for that. Because I just actually received word of somebody wanting to know about other events. And evidently, the WWE, according to this, and the Sports Corp are trying to put some wrestling events, including the Royal Rumble in 2025. That's February the 1st. WrestleMania and SummerSlam in the future. 239-1070 is the number. Hello, Kenny. How are you?
How you doing, JMV?
Kenny, I'm outstanding. Thanks for the call.
Awesome. Hey, man, are you going to be doing anything special for the Brickyard that's coming in July? Like, are you guys going to head down there and do a show or anything?
I am not. I'm sure I'll be doing a show someplace. I don't know if it's going to be in there, but probably around there, yes.
All right, man.
Awesome. Kenny, you're going to come out and have some complimentary beverages with us?
I will if it's Diet Coke, JMV. I'm one of them guys.
You got it, but that's okay, man. It's all good. We're all in the same gang, brother. It's all good.
That's right. You have a blessed day, brother.
All right, Kenny, I appreciate that. JMV, one of the greatest lines in cinema history from Anthony Michael Hall, Weird Science 8. By the way, James, get on that. Irving Theater in August, Anthony Michael Hall. If somebody out there can make that happen, I love doing that stuff. Anyway, back to this. Anthony Michael Hall in Weird Science, except for the fact that the blank kicked me in the nuts, I'm perfect. Yes, that was drunken Anthony Michael Hall in the bar scene with Kelly LeBrock. Need me in that. Oh, that's great stuff. The late Bill Paxton as Chet will go down as, seriously, in Weird Science, one of the greatest characters ever. Was Chet not one of the greatest characters ever? When Kelly LeBrock said, "Now listen, Chip. Now my name is Chet, and I didn't think this was a whale's blank, honey." Oh, please, go home and watch it tonight. I didn't think it was a whale's blank, honey. Tony East, outstanding earlier. Fever and the Pacers in the offseason. We did agree to disagree on a couple of different things. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Mike Chappell, too. James, thank you. If you're on your way to see Chesney tonight, enjoy the tickets we gave to you, courtesy of AAA membership. AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live tomorrow. It's a party. Deep Eddy Vodka, Brent Holverson. Our party deck tour is at the back 9. Drover and Morris. We'll see you there at 3. Have a great night. Stay cool.